In this video, we'll be covering the general game plan for Gardevoir in Pokken Tournament. This Psychic Fairy-type Pokemon is a zoner. She controls space through ranged attacks and area denial. Ranged pressure forces her opponents to approach. Besides traditional zoning, she has two aspects to her game that stand out. These are her Okizeme game and her trap game. Her trap, Future Sight, allows her to control space, and if unchecked, control the whole flow of a round. With Future Sight, she can create zones that are relatively safe, allowing her to set up for her next move. When setting up Future Sights, you are free to move inside of them. This allows Future Sight to be used as a protective zone that will stagger your foe. Her trap game is used to augment her zoning. The traps can be used to create openings, to skip mid-range and go straight into close combat in certain matchups. However, after a Future Sight is cast, its one weakness is if she is hit such that she would enter Wake Up. Be it either Ground Wake Up or Aerial Wake Up, the Future Sight will fail and never occur. Teleporting after using Future Sight is a safe way to build up your stored power. The more stacks of Calm Mind you have, the stronger your stored power is. It's a powerful move that will create separation from your opponent, giving you the distance you need to apply zoning pressure and set up more of your traps. When casting Calm Mind, you can use Energy Ball or Psychic out of it as zoning tools. Energy Ball can be diffused to attack a wider area. Psychic can be utilized similarly to Future Sight as a trap, but it is dispersed if Gardevoir loses concentration by taking any hit. Psychic also has a very slow cast time. She also has a counter out of Calm Mind in the form of Dazzling Gleam. This attack will often outlast enemy armored attacks, even beating counters if timed properly, and this attack can also serve as an anti-air. Gardevoir's trap game augments her Okizeme pressure. Okizeme, or Oki, is the Japanese term for applying pressure on your opponent while they are getting up off the ground. It can also be referred to as wake-up pressure. When Gardevoir sets her Future Sight, it gives her the option to make normally unsafe moves safe to use so that they can't be punished. This is readily apparent in her Future Sight Psyshock setup. This setup covers almost every wake-up option in the game and has a fairly generous timing window to execute. It covers attack, jump, counter, and grab on wake up. This allows Guard to force her opponent to block on wake up. Additionally, it is plus on shield and provides 51 chip damage, leaving you with the advantage of acting before your opponent can. Besides Future Sight Psyshock, she also has an Oki unblockable setup. Future Sight can be timed so that it will cover all non-block options including jump, while leaving a small vulnerability window before it connects, allowing Guard to grab her opponent. So basically, no matter what option your opponent picks, they will take direct damage from a hit confirm. There is a vulnerability to this tech though. While using it with the truly unblockable timing, if your opponent techs your grab, they will take the Future Sight damage, but recover quickly enough to punish your grab animation. This is because Future Sight hitting the grab tech animation freezes Guard in place. You can avoid this by changing the timing that your Future Sight triggers, but this will allow the unblockable to be avoided by jumping. Gardevoir's other extremely valuable Oki tool is Stored Power. When timed and spaced properly, this move is safe to use against most opponents in the game, with very few exceptions. Normally, one might think a zoner would struggle in close quarters. Gardevoir though has some solid options up close. Her jab into Stored Power is completely safe on shield and creates space for her to operate. Even though the second jab into Stored Power is not a block string, giving the opponent the opportunity to act normally by countering, Stored Power with 0 charges can't be counter punished before you have the opportunity to shield. Stored Power with 1, 2, or 3 charges can only be punished in specific situations. Stored Power with 1 charge can only be punished by small body characters with a 25 frame counter. This is Braixen and Pikachu Libre. Stored Power with 2 or 3 charges can only be punished by characters with a 25 frame counter. This is again Braixen, Pikachu Libre, Sceptile, Machamp, Mewtwo, and Gardevoir herself. Outside of these specific scenarios, jab into Stored Power can't be punished by normal counterattacks. Similarly to jab Stored Power, there is also Strong Attack, the X button, into Stored Power. This is only counter-punishable with 2 or 3 charges, and by the same cast members that can punish Jab Jab into stored power. Since there are a few options and situations that can punish these techs, by anticipating a punish, you can simply choose not to follow through on stored power and punish your opponent's punish with either a grab, dazzling gleam, or teleport aerial. Teleport off of Jab Jab or strong attack is also a fairly safe option up close. Jab Jab teleport can only be punished by 9-frame moves, meaning grabs or a small number of other moves in the game. Strong attack into teleport can't be punished until after the teleport, but only if your opponent guesses correctly which direction you're teleporting and guesses your landing option as well. When teleporting away from your opponent, you can use Jump Y in order to poke at them. When teleporting behind your opponent, you can use Jump X in order to chain into a combo. These 4 option sets of Jab Jab and Strong Attack into stored power, and Jab Jab and Strong Attack into teleport give Guard a solid base to stand on in close quarters. Mid-range is actually where Gardevoir has the most difficulty. In mid-range, she doesn't have time to safely set up her traps, and many of her range zoning tools are too easy to punish at this distance. Her dash in and cancel options out of dash are slow, making it hard to get a surprise jump on your opponent. And due to Guard's slow speed, your opponent can keep you at mid-range and never let you get close or far. Once you are in mid-range, you'll have to try to play footsies with teleports, walking, or counter-attack dash canceling, also known as CADCing. You'll want to look for a chance to land stored power and create some space, but because of the long startup of this attack, when play is in neutral state, there's the risk of the opponent CADCing through your attack, so be ready for them to come in close, which is incidentally preferable to mid-range. Guard's long-range game is solid. She has attacks that stretch the whole screen, but these options have a lot of startup and cooldown, which is why they normally can't be used unless it's from that far away. Your goal during long-range combat is to land as much chip damage as possible, and hopefully land a hit in between their defenses as they approach. Your down X is how you'll prevent them from CADCing, as it pierces armored attacks. If you don't keep them from CADCing, your attacks will just charge their synergy meter instead of dealing chip damage. Energy Ball, Psychic, Magical Leaf, Stored Power, Moonblast, and Future Sight can be used by Gardevoir to slow her opponent's approach while dealing chip damage on their shield. If she starts running out of room for her long-range game, it can be best to set up the field with an opening to skip mid-range combat and go straight into close-range combat for several of her matchups. Guard's field phase options consist entirely of zoning attacks, with the exception of her homing attack, counterattacks, and grab. And jump strong attack too. She doesn't have as many safe options to deal chip damage while in field phase, so your opponent will often be shielding. Light attack is your fastest option, and its recovery can be cancelled into any ground attack that she has in field phase except for homing attack. Side light attack is the option that creates space for you by knocking your opponent back, even if they're blocking. Charged forward light attack shuts down most options your opponent can throw out in field phase, and the attack combos into itself, dealing impressive damage. Field phases will often be your opponent approaching and shielding until they are close enough that a 50-50 situation happens, and one of you will guess right, resulting in an attack that phase shifts. You'll want to use light attack and side light attack at medium and close range in field phase to keep your opponent back. Both of these lose to jump, so you'll have to mix up the timing that you use them. You should take opportunities to build Calm Mind stacks as they appear, because stored power can still be used to create space and apply chip damage. Unfortunately, it's one of her many moves that are easily dealt with in field phase by walking sideways. Guard's ground projectiles have little to no tracking on them in field phase, which allows opponents to easily approach by walking around them. Because of this, you'll want to use Jump A and Jump Light as part of your option set while your opponent is approaching. Jump A gives you the opportunity to deal a small amount of chip damage, and Jump Light gives you the ability to punish your opponent if they try to CADC that chip damage. Guard has a great burst mode. She Mega evolves into Mega Gardevoir and becomes a much better character while it's active. Her move speed improves significantly, and she gains a couple of additional options. Her most notable change beyond her move speed increase is that Aerial Future Sight hits lower to the ground. This allows you to hit taller members of the cast while they're in standing animation. This is so potent on some members of the cast that if they don't CADC out of it, they can get locked down completely by Aerial Future Sight. A second very notable option that becomes available is Jump Y in dual phase. Jump Y is available while you're not in burst, but while you're in burst, it gives you a solid mid-range approach option. You can jump Y low to the ground towards your opponent and you'll be plus versus block because of the additional arrow while in burst mode. Also of note is that aerial counter is actually safe on shield. This move still remains too telegraphed to safely use, unfortunately, because it is so easily dealt with by countering. Gardevoir's burst attack, Fairy Tempest, is a full screen super that can only be blocked. It deals more damage and goes into an animation if it connects within about 2 character lengths of Gardevoir. Also, while the hitbox cover is very high, the height does have a limit, and some characters have options to leap over the super. That said, when it connects raw, Fairy Tempest will deal 215 damage. That wraps it up for Gardevoir's general game plan. I plan on doing additional content going into more detail for her bread and butter gameplay, like her setups, combos, and option selects and the like. If you like this content, please do the YouTube things, like follow, subscribe for updates. Also, please leave any feedback, good or bad, in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Like Guard, I'll see you in the future.